Hey, Sean McElroy here, back with another one of our Autoline Exclusives. With me today is Craig Van Batenburg, who works at ACDC and just also happens to own the company as well. Thank you for joining me today, Craig.
My pleasure.
Can you tell us what ACDC is, what you guys do?
Well, it stands for Automotive Career Development Center. Started about 20 years ago when Massachusetts went to chassis dynamometers to test cars. And at the same year, 1999, I happened to buy a Honda Insight, and I was also owning a company called Van Batenburg's Garage, which is my last name, and we specialized in Hondas. So there was kind of this whole thing came together between starting to do some training across the street from our repair shop, buying this Honda Insight, weird-looking car, and kind of falling in love with this hybrid technology over 20 years ago. And here we are doing it full time.
That's awesome to get into, something that's really started to kind of take over our industry now so early in the game.
Yeah, well, it's me. I went to Honda school in 1972 in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, when the Civic came out for the first time. And I was a motorcycle mechanic back before that. And if you don't know this, it's interesting. All the Honda dealerships, the Honda motorcycle dealerships back in the early 70s were offered the car franchise, and a lot of them took it. And I think Honda actually regretted that a little bit. So there was a lot of young people like me riding motorcycles, long hair, beard, all this stuff. And we all got shipped down either on the West Coast or the East Coast to learn about this Honda Civic. And it was a 5 days of training. In the first 4 hours on a Monday morning, that was all. I mean, we're all in our 20s. We're all, I'm talking bell bottoms, long hair, and beards. This is 1972, right? EPA, I think, was created that year, if I'm not mistaken. At any rate, so we all learned about automobiles, but the first 4 hours was about emissions. We talked about hybrid carbons, carbon monoxide, nitrates of oxide, and how we could transform all this pollution into this lovely thing called carbon dioxide, which of course is now overheating the planet. So we've done this great job of 50 years of making cars cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, and now all the stuff that we've turned all the bad stuff into, CO2 is also bad stuff. So now it's hybrids and electric cars in the future. That's how I see it. So I was brainwashed by Honda to think that cars are bad and evil and oil is terrible and we got to do something. So, and I haven't changed my mind. It's been this going on for a long time.
Well, yeah, no, it's to be someone that is in the training field, I feel like you have to have just a ton of passion for it. And actually, one of the first ways I found out about you, many people probably don't know this, but I used to be a technician.
Oh.
And, one of the things that always seemed like you drove home in your stuff, any of your training stuff, was the basics. You had to know the basics. Yeah. Well, can you go through that a little bit?
Well, everything is the basics. I mean, I don't care how complicated a car is. If you take an electric car, we just bought a Kia Niro EV. It's got like 500 miles on this thing. This is electric, big battery powered, 250-mile, computer on wheels. But when it boils down to electricity, has 4 tricks. It can make heat, light, noise, or motion. That's it. And then we added CAN bus a long time ago. We did one more trick, electricity, and now it does communication. So if you're an old timer like me and you're used to working on, the old analog stuff, I'm talking a million years ago, you need to keep up with the times. So if you have an oscilloscope and you have good basic training in electricity, you can take the most complex thing, break it down into pieces, and start using a milliohm meter to measure ohm resistance down to 1,000th of an ohm, or look at this. It can be fixed. But most guys, they say, oh, this is too complicated. It's overwhelming because they haven't broken this down into little tiny pieces, one bite at a time, and this whole thing is going to run. So we've been doing this for a long time, and the basics is really the basics. It's always the basics. There's nothing complex. A lot of little basics put together is kind of a complicated system, but not really. That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, well, and, kind of speaking of the basics, I mean, not only are you guys helping out independent shops, dealerships, I think something else that you guys do that's really awesome is bring in students and help train them. So can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's just awesome.
Absolutely. So it actually starts with foster care. So my wife and I have been married a little over 30 years. And in 1994, I believe, I'm eating a burger at Wendy's that I didn't need. And come to find out, Dave Thomas, who founded Wendy's, was adopted. And he started this adoption thing. So I looked into, maybe we should adopt a foster kid. So my wife and I adopt Michael. He's 4. He's now 29 next month, I believe. And then we adopted a 17-year-old named William. When I found out more and more about how tough it is for foster boys, particularly to get adopted, when you're 10 or 11 years old, the chances are pretty slim. We said, we should be helping youth. And so we have a lot of interns that come in, and we have another house that we own around the corner. It's an old triple decker, which is an ancient old house, 1890. We rent the top 2 floors, and we have that kind of office, but it's places where people can stay. So we recently had 2 people come in from Africa. One was in from South Sudan. He's here on a visa because of the Civil War. We have a fellow named Jesse coming in from Alaska, wherever they can legally come to the United States and participate in this class. They come in for usually throughout maybe 4, 6, and maybe even 8 weeks. We provide everything: the food, the training, the classes, the books, the safety gear. All you need to do is get here. And if you can't afford to get here, we'll pay you to get here. It keeps us young. The average age of my employee right now is 24. And then we have a new hire, just came back from Afghanistan and Iraq. We got a veteran running the office, awesome guy. Nickname is Oz, David Osborne. We got a great crew. And of course, my wife is backing this whole thing up to make sure we eat well and we wear the right clothes. I mean, she's terrific. So it's a young staff. It's an older company doing it for a long time. And yes, having interns, it's really part of the business model. They love it. I love it. When we start thinking younger again, we get into these things in a way maybe an old guy like me wouldn't think about. So yeah, we do it. We like it. It's just part of what we do. It's part of our culture.
No, it's awesome. And I don't know if some people understand just how huge everything that you're providing really is. Such a great opportunity for anyone that's coming in to do something like that. It's probably one of the hardest parts of, becoming a tech. So I find that really awesome what you guys are doing.
Well, thanks.
And, kind of sticking with the young kids, as you clearly know, finding new young talent for automotive repair is a huge issue facing this industry. I mean, can you talk about it from your perspective a little bit?
Well, I have to be careful because I can offend some of your viewers, so I'm going to modify this a little bit. But, I grew up getting paid by the hour, and tools were inexpensive, and I could get my motorcycle tools really fairly cheaply through Honda and work on Honda motorcycles. If I had to do this today, I would need if I wanted to be accepted, I need my Snap-on toolbox, and that's going to be $10,000 or $15,000, and then all the Snap-on. Nothing against Snap-on; it's great stuff. It's just expensive. So there's some things intrinsically in our repair industry, whether it's a dealership or independent, that's not working. And I think everybody knows it's not working. You can't expect a young person to come in with $30,000 worth of tools. It's not going to happen. You get a really, really rich brain of a kid in the projects. I grew up in the projects, like 6 kids, a single mom in Great Brook Valley housing projects here in Worcester, Massachusetts, where I am right now. So you can't expect these young, smart kids to get in the industry if they don't have the money. That's an issue. Flat rate, very controversial. There was a big lawsuit. There was a huge problem, as you know, in California. The union around Chicago went on strike 2 years ago. I follow all of this. So we need to change the whole deal. We need to make flat rate work, which means a really, really good base pay. We need to make tools provided by the shop, but to do that, you need a tax credit. If I bought tools today, I want the government to buy those tools. Give me a tax credit. I want education to be the same curriculum in every single state because people move around. I would like to have colleges be free at least for 2 years and a little bit maybe for more, and make it mandatory that every technician has a license. I mean, it's been a long time. We need to do all of this and more, and it can work. I've sat down with one of our legislators here in Boston, went over this, what I call a 6-point plan. He said, Craig, when you have the time, which I don't have right now, come talk to our people here in Boston, see if we can make a model in Massachusetts to straighten this out, because we're not going to keep people if we don't train them better, if we don't mandate licensing, get the labor rates even higher than they are now. I know they're high, but that's the cost of owning a car. Get these tools so that the shop owns it, and no one's going to steal the tools they need to use. I keep hearing these false arguments. I don't believe it. These kids will come in, they will work, men and women both. They'll get it, and if we treat them well, and we provide lunch for our employees every single day. Who wants to go to Burger King and get a lousy burger and fight the traffic and come back in a bad mood because you got flipped off on your way back? Who wants to do that, right? So we provide lunch. It's not expensive. We had a nice lunch. We all sit down together, and we don't talk about ACDC. We talk about what's going on, like right now, the coronavirus, and how are we going to protect ourselves and what's going on with mom. It's a great culture. It can be done. I have shops that are doing it. They got away from flat rate. They're providing tools. We know this can work. So yes, the problem is we created it. We created it ourselves, and we need to fix it. And it is fixable. Even economically, it's fixable. That's my take on it.
No, I agree. We need to do something different, something far different than what we've been doing. In part of it is a shame. It's to see shop classes go away from high schools. I know even some more progressive type schools, if you might want to call that, are bringing shop class back because they're seeing so much engagement from kids.
Right.
And I think a key point of that is it's not just the typical kids that you would expect to see in a shop class. It's much different kids than you would ever see maybe, 20 years ago, maybe even longer. But and I think one of the other things that we're kind of seeing in the repair industries is automakers kind of bring everything in-house, where they're not getting the information out to independent repair shops. And the reason I think that is important is because some of the independent repair shops, they have some of the brightest minds in the repair industry. So I feel like they just need to tap into that market. And, I just don't think they're doing that. Do you have any comment on that?
We're an expensive training center. If you want to do a 7-day class with us, it's $5,500. Now, it does include the hotel and all that stuff, everything but airfare to Worcester. So we bring in the best of the best. And we have an exclusive group of shops. We call it QSP, Qualified Shop Program. To be involved is for tech support, marketing, and training, but they have to be at a pretty high level. We give them a tool list they must have. They have to use Identifix for tech support because they'll be calling me all day long. We do tech support for the tough stuff. But to answer your question, there are shops doing everything exactly right. There are dealerships that are really, really good. I work with these. There's some great stuff out there. I think what Roger Penske does at his shops is terrific. I bought a used Highlander at their BMW place in Warwick, Rhode Island, and you just tell this was a well-run dealership. And let's face it, not every dealership is, and not every independent shop is either. Yes, you have to be bright. Any technician has to be above average intelligence just to be able to figure out what's going on with these systems. And also, I'll tell you this, the thing that bothers me a little bit is we have Worcester Vocational High School here. It's a great school. 2012, Obama came to speak to them because they were the top technical high school in the United States of America. 2012, amazing stuff. But they don't teach electrical until the senior year. When you go into any training today at high school or college, electrical scan tools, oscilloscopes, that should be when you're 15. If you don't have the knack, if you don't have the talent, if you don't have the disposition or the intellect to handle electronics, get out. Go do something else. Don't stay in. You will not be successful. They teach that in the senior year. I'm on the advisory board. We just finally got them to get a picoscope in the classroom, and no one knows how to use it. So we have a student here. His name is Oscar, and he is a junior at Worcester Voc. He's coming in every afternoon and working. Of course, school's out. He's studying in the morning, but he's from El Salvador. He's an immigrant. He came in here. When I go to that school, Worcester's a land of immigrants. Half the kids that I see there are from foreign countries, and they're coming here for a better life. They're studying. They're working hard. We have to get everybody. I wish we'd open the borders up to technicians that are living in third world countries and bring them here. We need them, but we don't get them here. That's a whole nother, I know that's politics. That's a whole nother avenue for not fixing, but correcting, making a course correction on getting more people in. But we got to take the way we handle technicians and change the whole program. So Oscar's just this great guy. I love working with him. And he's got a work ethic at 17 that's unbelievable. But he learned it in El Salvador, growing up in a really tough environment.
Yeah, I just look at it where I feel like we have this shortage of techs, and it feels like some automakers are kind of pushing them away where they should really be absorbing them in. And we can really, kind of help out the shortage problem that we have going around.
When the UPS truck driver comes in and throws cardboard around and gets paid more to drive a truck, nothing against throwing cardboard from a UPS truck. They're working pretty hard, right? But when he's making more money than a junior technician, something's wrong with the system. There's a Union 701, and the head trainer is Louis Longy out in Chicago. They hired us. We went out there. We did a bunch of training with them. I got to understand much more from the inside of dealerships and unions. You don't see that very often, but every dealership in the Chicago area, all the technicians are in a union. They got a great thing going on. They pay so much per hour to the union, the dealership does, and all the training is free. I think they have 9,000, you can fact check me on this, 9,000 technicians in this union. Almost all of them are dealerships, and any training they want, just go see Louis, and they got a great training center. And is everybody showing up? Nope. They don't get paid enough to be there, even though the training is no charge to them. So Louis doing a great job. I think it's Union 701, if I'm not mistaken, is doing a great job, but people need to show up to get the training. And that's intrinsic to how leadership is promoting and paying them and all the rest of that stuff. And I'm not here to beat up the dealerships. They have a hard job. Right now, my little Kia Kona EV, not a Kona, Kia, what is it? Niro. Sorry, we have 17 different cars in this fleet. The Bluetooth doesn't work. So I called them the other day. I don't want to say anything bad, right? And they can't even get me in because they're just, I mean, they can't sell cars. Parts is kind of closed. Service is there. We'll see what we can do. But they're in a tough time right now, and I appreciate that. We're not even going to think of fixing this thing until the coronavirus is handled, and that could be a while, as we know. But it certainly needs to take a hard look at this. We need the politicians to help. We need the insurance companies to help. When we pay workman's comp insurance, it's a ridiculous rate. They're charging a super amount of money to insure a technician. And if you take a look at the death rate, just go to OSHA. You can see what's happening. We're a very, very safe place to work in, as long as you handle that gasoline well. So there's a lot we can fix, and it takes time, I know, but let's fix it.
Well, you mentioned COVID-19 there impacting dealers. I'm wondering about you on the training side. How are you guys coping with it?
Well, we're doing a lot of webinars, and we
can imagine
7 people on staff. We're all being very, very careful with masks and gloves. We don't do any retail, and also the technical name of our company is Van Batenburg Inc. So we're still registered as an auto repair business in Worcester. That allows me to move around a bit more freely. As a training center, I'd also still be able to work because education is not closed down. It's not impacting us a lot, but I like hands-on classes. So does everybody else. And we've canceled everything starting in mid-February. Our last class was mid-February. We stopped early. I watched the news. I'm not a scientist. It was obvious we got problems here. My wife and I are both heading towards 70, so we're in that risk category. We don't want to get sick, heaven forbid. So yeah, it's an issue, but we're fine. We make a lot of money. We save money. We don't spend money we don't need to. We're a very mature business. We own all of our property. We own all the cars except the Kia. We did borrow the money for that, $46,000. Great car, a little bit of money. Of course, I'll get some back on my taxes someday. So we're fine. Thanks for asking. We're doing good.
And I'm curious about attendance on your webinars. How is that going? Have you seen a big increase?
Better than ever. I mean,
awesome to hear.
Fleets use it. You see our little sign behind it. Fleets right now, cities. We have a lot of interesting customers, more than people realize. But we do a lot of fleet training, different cities, and city of Boston happens to be one. And the fleet technicians, the cars aren't being driven as much. They've got time on their hands. Right now, a perfect time to get a big screen TV in the break room, have all your technicians come in and do training. So we're doing training right now at 8 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we're going to start doing some training at 9 p.m. at night because it's early morning in Australia. Our customers are worldwide. We have qualified shops in Singapore, the Netherlands, Ireland, all over North America, and we just opened one up in Australia. So we're worldwide. People know us everywhere. We love to train. I have a gift of gab. I used to do Elton John impersonations part-time, by the way, and had a radio show. So I can entertain myself just looking at a computer screen. I've got the right voice and personality to have a good time talking to a computer with nobody around. I'm still enjoying myself. And I think I'm going to be trained by somebody. Hopefully they're going to have a little bit of fun when they're teaching you something. At least I try to do that.
Well, awesome. And you make a great point. I mean, a lot of places, a lot of people have extra time on their hands. It's a good time to be going and getting some training because when you go back, having some extra knowledge it's not helpful. A bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. If you're going to get slammed, these cars are wearing out. They're just sitting there. They're all going to come back in all at once. I was a motorcycle technician in Massachusetts. What happened? The business dropped off in September, maybe something in October. I get laid off. This is when I was a kid in my 20s. And then what would happen? The first sunny day, right in May or April, everybody with a motorcycle comes running over to the Honda shop to get their motorcycles tuned up or whatever's going on. It's going to feel like that. We're going to get hammered. So we got a couple books for sale. We've got this, and there's anybody, not just me. If there's training out there, there's books, DVDs, webinars, whatever, do it. Do it now while you have time because you're going to be slammed when this thing is over. It's going to happen.
I couldn't agree more, Craig. I want to thank you for the time.
Yeah,
Craig Van Batenburg, ACDC, hybrid and EV training. Thanks again.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for what you're doing as well, letting people know what's happening.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, bye.